very much for that. The next item on the agenda is the apologies. There are, as far as I can see, 8 out of 9 councillors. If Councillor Carr is the only one, he did say he was going to try and join online. Not yet.
Not online.
In that case, I will note his apology and hope that he can join in. Can we get a mover for that apology, please? Oh, thank you, Amy and John. Sorry, councillors McDonald and Hunt. All in favour, say aye.
Aye.
Against? Aye. Number 4 on the agenda is declarations of conflicts of interest, if they can be declared now, that are new to the ones that we already know. There being none. Number 5 on the agenda is confirmation of the minutes of the 18th of February. Can I have a mover for those minutes?
So move, Kitchen.
Thank you, Councillor Kitchen. And Councillor Morunga. I did note in the minutes though that there was a double that. We'll just have to find it again now. But we can fix that up.
It's on page 8, Chair.
Yes, it is.
Under the first resolution for supplementary, we've got that permitted under section 46A.
Yes, if we can have that corrected, please, for the minute. Nonetheless, I will put the motion. All in favour, say aye.
Aye.
Against, that's carried. Receipt of action sheet is on page 16. That the action sheet be received. I'll get a mover in a second. The first, Councillor Crawl is the mover. Councillor McDonald is the seconder. Are there any aspects of that action sheet that need to be highlighted?
I don't believe so, Chair. I note that all of the actions have been completed. Very happy to speak to any of them.
I'd like to thank the staff for getting through that long list. Well done.
Kia ora. All in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, that's carried. 6.1 on the agenda is page 19, financial report in February. I will hand it over first before we get a mover in a second in case there are any general comments or we need our attention drawn to anything. Yes.
Chair, Tucker's got some notes to speak to if you'd like.
Please move up, please, Tucker.
Koutou, kia ora, Bruce.
Come and help me out.
So Simon's way at our council civic financial forum at the moment, getting some insights around the country and other councils about what the economic probably profile
Over here.
like.
You're more comfortable.
Would you like me to sit here?
Yes, please.
So I will take the report as read, but in terms of a summary overview, the council continues to maintain a really favourable surplus, driven mainly by salary savings. So our year-to-date surplus after reserve transfers is 2.6 million, which is 1.3 million favourable to budget. And again, that's largely based on salary savings across all of council. In terms of revenue, the revenue is ahead of budget by 2.9 million. Managed funds and just in terms of the protracted graph that we have, we are sitting at 67% of our full year expected budget for managed funds. So still quite strong there, regardless of the transition into our new fund managers. Also higher investment interest from cash and bank. We've also had some improved commercial rental income and some cost recoveries. So essentially, a lot of the revenue that we've had surplus is essentially transferred off to reserves because it's not needed. Are there any questions in relation to those?
Councillor Hunt.
So not a question, but obviously an observation that March's managed funds number will not be a good one. I think we all know that, but I think that it's encouraging to see the increases in other areas, you know, in terms of corrections, obviously. But I think we all know that in the March managed funds number is not going to be a good one.
We're waiting to confirm that for you.
Any other questions?
Chair, just a note that, and response to Pucker's last comment about revenue gains that's not needed being transferred off to reserves, just for clarity, that then comes back to council at the end of this financial year for council to make a decision as to where those funds then go. They're not needed. So they're transferred off to reserves because we don't need them, but you've still got a decision at the end of the year. It's just for clarity.
Yeah. Dean, I know you've come online. Welcome to the meeting. We're up to the financial report. And before I look for a mover and a seconder for the recommendation, I'll alert Steve Watene and George Riley in case they have comments to make as well. But can I have a mover and a seconder for the financial report, please? Councillor Moringa and Craw is the seconder. Any comments, gentlemen, or Dean?
One small one. Thank you for the report, Tucker. The 4.03, two numbers there, which we went through, as is in your report of the Audit and Risk Committee, and you've correctly put them against the approved budget by the council. Would we see a format change in the next report? It's an offset, isn't it? It's moved from one, by the restructuring from one line to the other.
4.03, are you referring to which line in the
Sorry, the table on page 19. Strategic partnership and engagement and corporate services.
in terms of, we'd like to see a change in format probably in the next financial year.
Next one, so it'll remain this way.
Yes, until year.
Okay.
Because the budget is based on what was published in the annual report.
Thank you.
Annually.
Yeah, just with the turbulent geopolitical situation, how's that going to impact on our service delivery going forward? Like the cost fuel, for example, is that going to mean that there's back to a COVID-like response where we're virtual working from home, that type of scenario?
Kia ora, Chair. Good question. We are in the process of looking at our business continuity plans and what potential fuel restrictions or increase in fuel costs might mean for us, both from a budgetary perspective, but also from our ability to deliver our services. That has gone to ELT and are going to ELT again this week. Our Bruce is also reaching out to Russell Investments and having discussions around with any potential impacts on our future investment portfolios and what options there might be for us to reduce any potential impact. Also noting that George and I had a kōrero yesterday, George in his capacity as chair of Audit and Risk Committee, and that Bruce, myself and George are having a kōrero after this council meeting on that very point around business continuity, impact for our organisation, potential impact also for our staff around increasing fuel costs. So yes, it's something that we need to keep an eye on, but also make sure that we take a graduated approach in responding to it. Bruce, if you've got something to add to it, please do.
Thanks a lot, mate, through the chair. I've spoken with Russell Investments just recently, and on the defensive options, they're comfortable with the current asset allocations. They're saying 30% income assets should provide downside protection and growth allocation as well, diversified across regions and sectors. And they're saying history shows that most geopolitical shocks not have a lasting impact on the markets. And they're recommending that we currently stay in the markets as we are currently invested.
It's very good.
I think Councillor Blackwell.
Oh, yes. Councillor Blackwell.
Thanks, Chair. Just on the edge of the comment about the fuel, I just wonder whether the organisation is considering if it goes to another level. And when we had COVID, we had a system in place where, well, the fuel must have been saved dramatically because the only people that were getting out there were the essential workers. So if we get to that point, Jono, is there another plan we've got in front of us to maybe take into account a real fuel shortage, which we've never seen before?
Kia ora, Councillor Blackwell, through you, the chair. Yes, that's what our business continuity plan has a look at. So we are looking at the national plan and the different graduated steps that it's got there, and what impacts that would have on our ability to deliver our services, and what services are more critical services than other that we would need to prioritise our activities, but also having a look at what the critical services are. And the reality is some of our functions aren't identified as critical services to receive fuel in a fuel shortage situation. So yes, we'd need to have a look at what services can we deliver remotely if we get into that stage, and how we communicate that to our communities. I suggest, Chair, that maybe once we've got a bit more work done in that space, that it would be useful to provide our business continuity plan to councillors and have a bit of a broader corridor through a workshop on that topic.
Yeah, very good. I'll keep us moving.
Just a couple of quick questions. Bruce, are you able to contact Russell Investments and just see what, on a mark-to-market basis, what sort of hit we might have taken in March? That would be useful to know.
So at the end of February, we had gains of 3.9 million. And looking at the results this morning, gains are down to currently 1.7 million.
So about 2.2 million, which will correct, obviously, once this situation, hopefully.
And that's what Russell was suggesting, yes.
But I guess it sort of raised the bigger question, which is the SIPO and how often we can analyse that. In my view, I think it's very clear, and I think it's shared by some other people, that our managed funds portfolio is a little too aggressive. So that, given the nature of the organisation, and so I'd like to revisit that and perhaps have a less aggressive portfolio. And I don't know when we can do that.
We do have a workshop planned with Russell Investments for around mid-April.
Yep.
To look at defensive position options, and that will include all that discussion, John.
Thanks, Bruce.
Good. Councillor.
Yes, just on page 21, capital expenditure, second bullet point, joint emergency coordination centre planning delayed. And have you got any idea why or how or who?
Louisa?
Through the chair. It was the delay was at the beginning where we were trying to get a number of quite complex agreements signed between the port councils and the tenants. We then went into a concept design phase to update the design that was done some years ago. That then moved us into the detailed design. We had a short delay there because of key staff illnesses and absences, but we're now back on track with that.
Thank you. Sure. Councillor Kitchen, that was my very question that I was going to pose, but I also wanted to include the one below it on page 21, Hannah Street redevelopment. I think I know the answer to that, but I want to make sure that my position is updated.
Kia ora, Chair. These two items are based on our budgeting at the start of the financial year. In both cases, so Hannah Street, we have gone back to our investment committee. We had a potential development there that councillors budget for a capital build. Our potential tenant withdrew from that development, so that development's on hold. Because we report in here against our annual plan as at approved at the start of the financial year, and there's not a revised budget, we're always, with those decisions, you're always going to see behind budget because things change through the year. So it's just that, yeah, we had a development, we now don't have a development, hence we're behind budget.
Very good. The financial report was moved by Councillor Moruna, seconded by Councillor Craw. I'm going to put the motion. All in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, it's carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We are moving on to item 6.2. Regional rates collection. It's over to Bruce.
Thank you, Chair. I'll just make a comment that I think you will all pick up on anyway. We are behind currently as rate collections in comparison to last year in terms of the percentage for all 3 district councils, and the same applies to the arrears collection as well. I know this is the second quarter report. We don't yet have the third quarter, hoping that there will be an uplift in the third quarter, but unsure at this stage. And Chair, we do have Alison with us from the Whangarei District Council, who is going to speak. Council, if you would like now, on views on the rates collection, how it's going from the Whangarei District Council perspective.
Yes, please. Welcome, Alison. If you could come out here, please, Alison. And everybody can see you clearly and hear you better as well. Thank you.
The first time I've attended a Risk and Audit Committee meeting at NRC. Can I sit or?
Yes, please do.
Yeah, and I've just come from the WC Finance Committee meeting, so yes, a good day for meeting with council. So I was asked if there any trends, and really all we're feeling is that it's the same story, that people are struggling to pay. We've sold 2 properties in recent years, and that's before. So we sold one about 2 or 3 years ago for rates collection, and we sold one in January this year because the rates hadn't been paid. And that's a good indicator that things are quite difficult to collect rates. Rating sales is something that don't happen often. I've spoken to, we use Debt Management Central to collect our rates, and they have said that there is a big increase nationwide in the number of rating sales that are happening. So rating sales happen when people just can't afford to pay. Or the first one was very difficult, but we understood that actually it resolved a problem for the family because they weren't able to sort out the estate. So sometimes it's, lots of different factors mean that they can't afford to pay. I've been looking at the numbers compared to last year for the end of February, and basically when it comes to debts, and we split up in different types of how we collect it. The first type of debt we have is on arrangement, so that means that we've got a direct debit in place to address arrears or just to keep them on track. So they'll have their rates paid by the end of the year, or maybe it'll take them 2 years out to get those rates paid. So we've had an increase in number of people that are on those arrangements. They either pay by direct debit when we can manage easily whether they pay or not. For example, in August, when we had our first due date, we had 1,000 dishonoured direct debits, which was a record number for us, probably about double what we would normally get in August. That reduced in October, the next one was November, and yet again in September. So people are getting used to pay and know that they should be paid on the 20th of the month, and we're going to take that money out on the 20th of the month. So that's one classification of our debtors for rates arrears. Then the next one are those people that own the property and have a mortgage, and under the Local Government Rating Act, we can ask the financial institution to pay for the prior year's arrears, which is something that we did a increasing number of those requests in July, because we do that in July. We do what's called an intention demand, and then 3 months later we demand anything that hasn't been paid. So when I was looking at the figures today, we're basically got the same number of people that owe money that have a mortgage this year as compared to last year. So the biggest increase is in those people that own property that doesn't have a mortgage. And so I see that, so we've got about 130 of those that owe last year's rates, and we've got about 90 of those that are with MC, our debt collection agency, for collection. 50 of those have just been filed, so, like in the last few months, and the others, we've got 2 that we're in the courts with, 2 that we have just received judgment for, so that means that we can enforce the payment of those prior year rates. And the rest, we're still in the, we're serving papers or preparing papers to serve with.
Alison, if I can interrupt, we don't have to go into too much detail. We really want to hear the trends.
Okay. Yeah. So what I'm saying is that we are seeing more people that are struggling to pay, basically.
Yes.
And we're doing the best that we can to get that in. And we did reduce rates arrears for the current year rates by 20%. In the last month since we sent out the committee letter.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for collecting on our behalf in the first instance and coming and addressing this forum and reinforcing many of the things that we already know, that things are getting harder. Are there any questions from councillors?
I just one.
So you go, Councillor Kitchen.
Just in relation, you're working very closely with the other personnel and the TAs
And
at your level,
yes, so
collective approach or sharing ideas of how.
So we did have a meeting of all the rates people and just before Christmas. So to meet with people just to discuss.
I'm saying with the final City Council and Kaipara.
So we work very separately,
Okay.
but we just share knowledge of different tools that we use.
Maybe there's different times you may have to.
I think
Closer. Better.
we try to make connections, but our communities are different.
Yes.
But we're facing the same issues. Yeah.
I'll go to Councillor Blackwell first, then back to Councillors Hunt and McDonald.
Thank you, Chair. Just need to point out the second line on the graph on page 25. It talks about percentage of current year rates collected. And I see Kaipara's actually up on last year. So it's broken the trend a wee bit. I gather that Kaipara is a low population base, probably very much pasture farming, crop and kumaras, probably doing quite well on there. But I think what Colin referred to, the cost of living, these figures are probably only going to get worse in the future. And we're only just going to see it. So the cost of fuel has only happened in the last month or so. And the impact of that will flow on for the next 12 months or more on the price of food and everything else. So going ahead, these figures will probably only get worse, I'm afraid. Thank you.
You're the Councillor. Councillor McDonald.
Oh, thank you. I think my question might be actually for Jono, but thank you very much for the information and for attending. Jono, I guess the question I have is just around the fact that I assume this is a cross-sector experience around New Zealand, that, rates being the cost of living crisis is everywhere. And so I assume other councils are under the same pressure. And so just wondering how much collective voice, local government, whether, at whatever scale, whether it's at a Northland scale or Upper North Island or whole of local government. To me, this is a really fundamental discussion that needs to be had between local government and central government about what our communities can afford and what they, what rates, provide for communities versus what, like that big discussion around taxes and rates and how it gets utilised. So I guess just wondering, is there a collective movement on this that we are part of?
Got it, Chair. I would say that yes, whether it's through local government reform submissions and discussions, whether it's through rates capping discussions, yes, we do use those avenues and opportunities to highlight the affordability. Also through most of our submissions where we get additional unfunded mandates that come our way from the Crown, we consistently through those avenues, both as a collective through Tutukika, but also through individual councils, highlight that this is another thing that you're putting on us, but actually that means that it's a financial burden on our communities to deliver it as well. So there's a constant communication with the Crown. I would comment that it has fallen generally on deaf ears, would be my observation over the last 3 or 4 years. I would, though, also point out that, look, overall, at the moment, we've collected, as at 31st of December, about 50% of our annual rate take, which in comparison with last year was 50.6%. So yes, we're a little bit behind, but it's not significant numbers. Councillor Blackwell highlighted that actually in KDC, they've collected a little bit more. So yes, there is pressure out there, tension about affordability and ability to pay. And I think my observation is all councils are trying to respond to that as best they can. Like we've got our proposal for 0% rate increase and those sorts of things. But equally, they're not significantly different from what we experienced last year, would be my comment.
Yes, Councillor.
Just following on from that, John, I think in absolute terms, the differential actually isn't that great, is it? So it's 0.6%, which is 300,000, 400,000, so not massive. And looking at this chart, the issue predominantly is Far North District Council in terms of the quantum of arrears outstanding. So that's 4.9 out of 6.7 million. So at least Whangarei and probably less so. The question I had was with respect to the ratepayer assistance scheme, which obviously we've had some discussions of. Where are we standing with that?
Good Chair. That's still a work in progress with Minister of Local Government. I know that they've gone and spoken to some of our other districts up here, like we had asked them to. I understand it is progressing positively, but yes, that is a scheme that would assist our ratepayers in this situation that we're talking about here. Hence, like why Local Government New Zealand and we've supported it as it could be a very valuable mechanism and tool to address some of the issues and pressures that people are feeling out there.
I'll put myself on the list, Alison. I've got a comment and a question. I don't expect you to react in any way to the first one, which is about our public announcement by the Northland Regional Council to have 0% rate application will rise in the next financial year. I'm saying it because we're in a council meeting and it's going to go on the record more than anything. But my question is about rates as it applies to Māori people, which may not be such an issue because it says in the narrative that you're here to provide insights. Are there any insights around Māori land and particularly multiply owned Māori land?
Through the chair, so in 2021, the amendment bill now provided for the write-off of uncollectible debt and made it easier for when there's been succession or the death of previous owners. So when NMO approach us, we will talk to them about options available for write-off of debt. We also promote the setting up of separate rating areas. So what that means that when you have multiply owned land with multiple dwellings on it, we can, if an application is made and agreed by the trust, normally that administers the land or manages the land, that family, that whānau can get one rates full. And they, depending on the income, they can get get a rates rebate. So it hasn't been taken up as much as we were hoping for, but when we have those conversations, we try to socialise it. Also, we haven't sold any Maori freehold land. It's not really allowed for under the Local Government Act, and we would not like to do that.
Very good.
Can I just mention something about the rates rebate? The national government increased the eligibility subsidy because this year it's $805, was $790 per year previously, but for people that have a super gold card, the income, the top income has increased. So that means that we've seen a 13% increase in rates rebate applications and a 20% increase in the amount of rates rebates this far in the year on the total for last year. So that's a good news story.
Over to you, Councillor Crowe.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for your presentation. I'd also like to congratulate you and the other councils on your efforts to collect rates and the greater focus you're putting on collection of arrears, and we've had good reports from you on this. I know that the trend downwards, well, the deleterious trend is very small, but over time it actually is quite a lot. So, and I'm not blaming any council for that, it's a fact of life. And I think, as someone's pointed out about the cost of living and fuel, also I noticed I just got my insurance bill. My insurance company's putting my home and not contents, just house insurance up by 40% this year. That's really going to bite because everyone else is going to be something similar. So my question to you is, do you get any people paying a portion of their rate saying, I approve of this part, I'll pay this, but not this bit?
Yes, sometimes we get that, but we just allocate rates to the oldest amount due.
That's right. So what I'm thinking about is we had a 0% rate increase. I'm thinking some people might say, oh, I don't mind paying NRC's rates, but I'm not paying yours because you're going for 5.5 or something. So I'm just wondering what kind of a problem this is. But you've told me how you solve it, which is fortunate overall.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Crowe. I'm seeking a mover and a seconder for the recommendation in regard to regional rates collection.
Also move Kitchen.
Yes, moved by Councillor Kitchen, and was it seconded by Councillor Blackwell?
Correct.
Right. All in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? It's carried. You're fine, Alison. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Moving on to page 27, withdrawal of the plan 25-26 funding contribution from the managed investment fund portfolio. Speaker is Bruce. Over to you, please.
Thank you, Jim. As I alluded to earlier, we don't have the marriage fund gains that we had at the end of February. We had 3.2 million, now we're down to 1.72 million. This paper recommends that we withdraw $2.84 million worth of managed fund gains in March. We do not have the amount of managed fund gains. I think it would be unlikely that it would pick up by the end of the month to that level that we saw in February. However, you could still make a decision to approve those recommendations, and the chance that that should occur. If that doesn't occur, we won't withdraw those funds if they're not there, if the gains are not made, and then we'd look to monitor the situation, potentially report back to you in April with another recommendation if things pick up. Thank you.
Okay. Without curtailing any questions or comments, I'll look for a mover for items 6.3. Councillor Moringa, and looking for a seconder. Councillor Kitchen.
Chair?
Yep.
If I could just, Bruce, are you suggesting an amendment though to resolution 2? Because that is saying withdrawn in March.
No, I'm suggesting we leave it as it is written.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Michael, so along the same lines as Jono, do we not need an amendment? So what you're saying, Bruce, is we don't have that money, we just don't act. We just wait till it reaches that floor. I'm just thinking that it might sink further. I'm thinking that it might be wise to pull out what we have now. Is it? In other words, say, amend the recommendation to withdraw 2.841, all such monies as we do have now.
Yes.
Yes. If council was of mind to go that way, then I'd also add the caveat that subject to the agreement of Russell Investments, because they're currently managing the fund as well. I'd like to get their advice to make sure that aligns as the fund manager with what your recommendation is.
Yes, good advice.
Shall I make the amendment?
Well, you do. Bruce, I heard you say we don't need to make a change. That was your initial response. Do you still stand by that?
Chair, in light of Councillor Craw's suggestion, I think you could make that change.
Right.
I just temper it with ensuring that Russell Investments concur with that.
Okay,
Approve that suggestion, approve that approach.
that's
Add
clear.
that to the resolution, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor McDonald.
I'm happy to suggest an amendment to recommendation 2, so that we would take out the dollar value that is there, and we would say that subject to advice from Russell Investments, gains, I don't know what, you wouldn't say the amount, would you? Would you just call them gains? Available gains?
Available gain.
Available gains are withdrawn from the investment funds. Oh, but then, sorry. So sorry, we can just say that available gains are withdrawn from the investment funds subject to advice from Russell Investments.
We can get the words so that all of the
That's all right.
councillors are clear.
Did you want a timeline on it, Bruce? Or is it better to have the timeline open because that's part of the advice that Russell's?
During March 2026, that gives us the ability to act on it today or tomorrow.
Okay.
This is what I've got so far. That's subject to advice from Russell Investments. Next part is?
Sorry, I think it is that gains are withdrawn during March 2026 from the investment funds, subject to advice by Russell Investments, comma. So that gives the caveat for if the advisors advise against it, and invested into term deposits, blah, blah, blah.
Those words being captured, okay?
Thank you.
It's been moved by
Sorry,
councillor.
the chair.
Sorry,
Sorry, through the chair.
Moved by councillor McDonald. Is there a seconder? This is for the amendment.
Did we vote on the motion initially?
No, because you've got an amendment sitting on the table potentially.
I will second the motion myself. Is there any more discussion on the amendment? And it was Deanne, over to you.
I think one of the risks you run as a council is in relation to giving Russell the, and no disrespect, they are your fund manager, the right to tell you what to do with your funds in terms of that amount. Is this, Bruce, just a question, is this not more for the Russell to give to the investment committee to have an urgent meeting just to ratify their advice? Because the investment fund managers will always advise you to keep your money in. So you're more likely to have them come back and say, leave your money in.
Okay.
Through the chair, I don't expect we have the luxury of time to make that decision because the investment committee won't be able to meet until later in the month. The principle that is being supported through the revised recommendation follows what is recommended throughout the paper. It's just a different quantum of funding.
Yeah.
So I'd suggest that it's still prudent. But also seeking the advice of Russell Investments.
On that basis, can we have a read out, please, Prince, of the amended motion?
So one is as stands that the report be received, and the recommendation 2 amended that available gains are withdrawn during March 2026 from the investment funds, subject to advice from Russell Investments and invested into term deposits maturing in August 2026. I'm assuming the same wording.
So the amendment has been moved by councillor McDonald, seconded by myself. I'm seeking any further comment or questions.
Well, I think what I'd say is that if we're going to have this discussion about the SIPO sometime in April, the reality is we got caught a little bit with an aggressive portfolio, but we've done well out of an aggressive portfolio. So we've given a little bit of back, and that's inevitably what's happened. So I think, and I concur with what Deanne says, we should be determining investment policy, not Russell's. But I think it's timely that we look at the aggressiveness of our portfolio. But the reality is we're given a little bit back, but we've done well with the aggressive portfolio up from now.
Councillor Mortimer.
So I see us, we still determine what the decision is. The motion on the amended motion is says to seek advice. So whether we take that advice or not, being advisory, we still make the determination and decision.
Right.
So happy as it stands.
Got it. I shall put the amended motion. All in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? That's carried. And that concludes.
So Chair, that's our substantive motion. So that does leave the floor open for any other further discussion. Otherwise, procedurally, you put your substantive motion and the discussion is ended.
Yeah. Are there any other questions on that agenda item?
I would just like to ask, what is the likely figure?
1.72 million as of today.
We are moving on. Hopefully, Councillor Crawford and Blackwell, you're still following us okay?
Chair, if you wouldn't mind just putting the substantive motion.
Oh, yes, sorry.
I'm sorry.
So putting your substantive motion, is there a mover, please?
I'll move.
Thank you. Councillor Craw. Second. Councillor Kitchen is the seconder. Put the motion. All in favour say aye.
Aye.
Contrary to that, that is carried. Thank you. We up to item 7.1. It's page 31, and it's a local government reform program of which there are 12 recommendations. Unless I get an indication, I will attempt to put them all together. But let's open it up with some discussion and test the waters. Any councillors like to draw our attention to any part of that item? Councillor McDonald?
I'd just be happy to hear from either Jono or Justin as the writer of the paper, just a quick highlights reel, maybe, if there's anything you want to highlight for us before we move through so many recommendations.
Happy to, Chair. Kia ora koutou. The recommendations in the papers that you've got here are as workshopped with council, so provide confidence that this is as workshopped with council. The amendments to what was the original proposal that we workshopped and provide direction on, that has now been provided to the other district councils as well. That pertained to the transparent provision of agenda papers from the local government steering group back to councillors, and the other key aspect of that was the proposal to not support the Mayor of Whangarei District Council being the chair of the external advisory group, but that the Mayor be there as an observer, providing the linkage between the two groups. Those have been discussed by district councils, were discussed at the Northland Forward Together hui last week, and they've now become the substantive proposal going to all councils rather than an amendment from NRC. They're now there being put forward as the substantive proposal to all four councils. Happy to take questions. I guess this is an ambitious proposal, proceeding ahead of central government's proposal. It is a by Northland for Northland proposal, wanting to make sure that we're in charge of our own destiny. It's not without its own risks, as in we are proceeding to a degree ahead of government legislative direction and guardrails. So there will be a need for really close working with central government. And it is a pretty tight timeframe to achieve what we're seeking to achieve here. So there's going to be a degree of us all needing to really lean in to support this and not die in the ditch on things unless they are really important thing to be able to keep this on track and to deliver what we're hoping to deliver between now and the next local government elections. However, it is seen really positively by central government. We have had really positive feedback via our DIA officials and from the Minister of Local Government himself, really supportive of local government in Taitokerau, wanting to be proactive, positive and wanting to partner with central government to lead this change. So that's my summary. Kia ora.
Councillor Morina.
Did you have a second?
No, I'm just.
Okay, so on page 32.10, here perhaps this is a part-time for Jono. The council approved allocation of 2,500 to meet placeholder budget of 1 million and its 26 spending plan. Noting that this amount is indicative only. Having gone through the previous agenda item, I feel like I'm now clutching at straws. However, my partai is, it says indicative and I interpret that to be more or less. So do we have a number of what a more or less could be? Is it 10, 20, 50,000 more or less?
Bit of share. This here is I called it as a placeholder budget, and it's a placeholder budget because we haven't done the detailed analysis of what it's going to take to progress the proposal. As in, we haven't had enough alignment and confirmation across all the councils that we actually want to do this together. So yes, we've had some high-level rough water estimates based on what at Cost Auckland Council, having a look at the process and what we estimate it to be the cost. But it's there to indicate that we may yet have to come back to council for more, or it might be less. But I don't have a range on what that more or less might be at this stage.
Yeah, for part-time.
If I could, Chair, just add that looking at other examples around the country, the process to identify a new structure is the cheap part of the process. The expensive part of the process is the implementation of whatever the new structure looks like. And that's where the challenge for us is to make sure that whatever the proposal is that potentially is put forward is actually better than we've got right now, so that the cost, the process, the upheaval impact on business delivery is actually worth the final product that comes out the other end. And that's really our challenge in this space, to make sure it's not just a different structure, it's a better structure.
Good. I think also
Go around.
DN.
Good, Jono. And thinking about the staged approach moving forward, is it consider all the impacts on our current financial position in terms of all our fund management? Does it discuss the debt that was just raised in terms of rates owing to us? I know that's micro detail, but it really matters in the end product. Are those being discussed at the moment?
Good, Chair. We're proposing here that we can cover the costs through salary savings, which are material savings that we've already got, so not impacted by the discussions that we've had on the previous paper. I also note that through our annual plan process, and there's some further discussion to have with our councillors, we have actually found some additional funds that may be able to be applied to the annual plan. So we've got two potential revenue streams to be able to potentially fund this. I'm looking at this as I talk to make sure that he's not shaking his head. So I'm confident that for the amount of funds that we're seeking, we can fund that from within our existing budgets, not necessarily impacted by future impacts on our revenue, whether it's by rates or whether it's our investment portfolios.
Steve.
Yeah, is the Northern Regional Council approach what's been adopted in other areas as well? Like, we're wanting to be part of that transition. Is that the approach that the other regional councils are taking as well? Or?
Kia ora through the chair. Regional sector in general, if you have a look at our submissions and our engagements with government, Prime Minister and Minister Watts, has all been positive. Yes, regional sector acknowledges that local government structure has been in place for over 30 years. There wouldn't be too many private practices that don't have a look at your structure and how you deliver your services and making sure that it's fit for purpose. So we are, as a sector, very supportive of looking at local government, how we're structured and how we make sure we're delivering value for money, that we're delivering our services efficiently, effectively, and looking for better ways of doing it. There are examples, and we'll all be aware of those, some examples where we deliver part of a function, a district council delivers another part of a function, and how can we do those things more efficiently? There are also another couple of regions around the country that are looking at proceeding ahead of the local central government's proposed process, those being Greater Wellington, West Coast, and Environment and Southland. So there are a number of other regions that are at different stages of the process where they're also looking at doing effectively a buy Northland for Northland approach, but for a different region. Yeah.
Did you want to go? Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, first of all, I'd like to thank the staff for a fantastic report. Thank you, Justin and Steph, Tammy and co. I think it's easy to read. It being very nimble in that you've had to respond to a workshop last week. And so you've done a great job. Also, I love the language that you use here, in that all these reports are going to have to be written in a sensitive manner, and that every other council and council is going to be looking at them, and everyone's going to be looking at Nicole. So I think you've done a fantastic job. So I congratulate you. My only comment, I don't have any questions, I have a little comment that, of course, the 11 stages, and boy, it's going to be tight. And I think some intelligent work's gone in here, like stage 3, which we're just about to come into. It's about the tightest of all, but I really like the idea of having short timelines early on, because if you have the long ones further at the beginning and the short ones later, you're going to fail. So, but I think stage 4, it has a little bit more wriggle room in it. So I think if we overshoot on stage 3, we should get back on track by Christmas. So, yeah, I think I like what you've written. I like your assessment of the potential timelines, and I think that I'm keen to support every recommendation. Thank you.
I'll put myself on the list, but I'll go after you.
I'm keen to move them, so
Okay.
I'm excited. So I guess I'm happy to move all 12 together. I think they go together. And also similar to Jack, really grateful for the fast work that has been done on this. It's a massive undertaking, and while at a governance level it's quite easy to be like, yeah, we're on board, there's a much deeper body of work that needs to be done by the staff to kind of make it meaningful and get the clarity that is needed to get 4 councils to sign on to the same thing. So acknowledgements to our team here at NRC, but also staff across the whole region for the work being done. I think what's exciting here is that we are trying to take a lead and move a bit faster, and local government in general is not known for its agility. So good on us. And I really love the for Northland by Northland approach, very supportive of that. And I know that really resonates with everybody out there, the people that we represent. I just also wanted to acknowledge the extra workload that this will bring over the remainder of the term. This is a huge undertaking that will be a big drain on no doubt our CE and the staff that get allocated to the work, but also on the councillors and our chair who will be sitting across the governance, because without knowing exactly how it's going to roll out, it's a really, really significant and complex piece of work. So grateful for the people who are happy to be nominated to sit on this for us. And we will, or those of us who aren't on it, are going to be keenly interested in everything that's happening. So look forward to lots of gossip and professional discussion about how it's unfolding. So I'm happy to move the 12 together.
Moved by Councillor McDonald for all 12. Said you, Councillor Paul. Seconding. Second. My comments on it. We have come a long way in a very short space of time. We're very thankful to the staff for putting the paper in place, but everything else. Please know that we attended Northland Forward Together last Friday in Kaiko here, hosted by the Far North District Council. So councillors from all 4 councils were together. We are aligned. There's still some of the detail that needs to be ironed out, but in terms of unity of purpose, we're certainly moving in the right direction. And that was highlighted by the representative from the Department of Internal Affairs, Vanessa Blacklock, who who was there and said there is no doubt in the minds of the politicians and the bureaucrats in Wellington about Northland moving forward together and with a very clear purpose. So, look, there's still a lot of work to do, but this is these are 12 what are now motions that I feel will go through. In saying that, I really wanted to highlight on pages 38 and 39 the risk management, one of which is in reference to implementation, given that we've got not only got business as usual, but the other reforms upon us as well. So that's going to need a whole lot of attention. But when you look down the columns on page, particularly page 39, high and high impact, high likelihood, high. And so when you pick some of those out, take for instance, rushed process does not bring community along. Bringing the community along is absolutely crucial. And I won't pick out any of the other ones on that left-hand column. They're all very stark. So risk register, we really need to keep an eye on it. That? Yes.
On that note, I think I'd like to retire. Just from this meeting. We've got a meeting to go. If you could even comprehend that there is a more important meeting than this one. Need to take a break to attend another meeting online. That's okay, please. Seek your leave.
We have noted that Te Rarawa iwi have gone through a leadership change, so we fully understand.
That's not the issue in this case. But it is important if you excuse the period. Thank you.
We wouldn't call him a rat.
We do have the 12 that have been moved and seconded, unless this is the last chance, because this is
Very big.
very big. I'm putting them. All in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, that is carried. Thank you very much.
Right.
I was going to say, particularly to those of you who are in the boiler room, but even those metaphors are archaic now. We are up to approval of updated delegation manual, item 7.2, page 46. I'm going to seek a mover and a seconder now. Willing to move, councillors?
Yeah, I'll move it.
Thank you, Councillor Moruna. Is there a seconder?
Sure.
Councillor Craw. It's not to negate any words that you may want to offer, Bruce or team. Delegation manual.
Thank you, Chair. Just make a quick comment. This is about providing clarity around our process governing unbudgeted expenditure delegations. An update to the delegation manual. It did go to the February Audit and Risk Committee, and the committee recommended to Council the approval of the process that is attached to the agenda item. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments or questions from councillors?
I think, Mr. Chairman, they were ironed out at our last workshop on
Yes.
that. Yeah, so I'm very happy to go along with it. It was just a bit about between the $100,000, $200,000 stuff. So I'm happy with it, with the slight tweaking. Thank you.
My sense is that I'll put it to the vote. All in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, that is carried. We are up to dangerous dams, the draft policy, page 54, which there are 4 recommendations. I know there will be comment on this, so I'll open it up for a comment by councillors.
I move recommendation 1 that we receive the report to get it on the table and then we can have a bit of discussion.
Very good. Is there a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Moruna. All in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, that is carried. Now down to 2, 3 and 4. Comments, please. Questions? Yes, Councillor Croft.
Yeah, I guess this is a question for Colin. I know I've asked it before, but I'm just wondering whether, in the light of policy and more clarity around the rules, whether we get the same answer. My question then was, because the risk is that we don't know about the dams, we don't get notified, and a farmer goes, well, a landowner builds a dam and we don't get notified, so a dam may be unsafe because all the onus is now on the landowner, isn't it? So that's our problem. So my question is the same. Colin, are we confident that we will pick up every dam, and even if we do know the dam exists, is there a risk of us not knowing about the lodging or otherwise of the information being laid by the landowner? Got to be a risk there somewhere.
Through the chair, Councillor Croy, there's always risk, regardless of any activity that's carried out by a person that undertake activity without the required obligations. In regards to dams, obviously they are a structure and something that can be picked up through aerial imagery, and that's the sort of methodology or technology we have employed to check up on these matters. Whether we get it as the dam's been built, might be the luck of the draw, but there's a way of completing new dams.
Okay, so my further questions, Mr. Chairman. So we're aware of the dam. Are we aware of the fact the person's lodged the application on it?
Dams of certain sizes will require a building consent
from us.
No, well, we have a transfer of function or a deed delegation to the Waikato Regional Council, and the Waikato Regional Council, I think, processes all the dam consent applications in North Island. And we're a building authority for that purpose. So we keep in touch with Waikato, so we will know if their building consent application has been lodged. Otherwise, there might also be consents like for earthworks that we'll obviously be aware of.
So you're confident that nothing will slip through the net, because I worry about the length of, like, the different stages of accountability, the different levels of accountability in different organisations. It's not directly to us. So I'm worried about, something being built that we don't know about, or we don't know about whether it's consented or not, and then an accident happening. So you're confident that we'll be.
I'm confident that we will detect it, as I alluded to. It may not be straight away, but it will be detected eventually.
Okay.
Councillor Blackwell.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yes, Colin, a few questions for you. Just wondering how many people actually died in Northland through the dam breaking? Is it similar to the road toll, or is it quite low?
I think
the answer. Sorry, Colin.
I think that question was raised before, and the answer given was that, as far as we're aware, there hasn't been. But the issue is more: does anyone really want to face up to a breach in the dam that results in the loss of life? Because there's a lot of liability that goes with that.
Yes, Colin, but the point I'm trying to get to is a little bit like sand mining, and we had issues, plus and minuses for that. And this has quite a big effect on the economy. So if we make dams too difficult to build, and we know we don't have many engineers in the country, I think we've got about 10 that can actually come around and assess whether the dam is dangerous or not. Is limiting and costly to the dam owner. And if a dam has to be taken down because it didn't have a consent, and it's a big dairy farm, well, I wonder how much effect that would have on our economy. But Colin, how many of these dams do we actually have in Northland that are registered? That's 4 metres high or higher and have more than 20,000 cubes of water.
From memory, that's actually addressed in the item. I think it was 230.
About 30, say, Colin?
230.
Oh, 230. It's quite a few, isn't it? Yeah.
That's not necessarily those that are classified as dangerous, though.
Sorry, how many?
So can you clarify if you are asking for the number of dangerous dams or potentially dangerous dams? paid
Well,
for.
no, I asked the question on how many dams were fit into that category. But yes, if you can answer the dangerous dams, that'd be terrific, Colin.
Yeah, so that's, can you just give me a second on this? So that was in that, if you like, that brief, well, that memorandum that sent out regarding the response to the questions at the workshop. And that's covered on, I think it's page 2 of that memorandum, councillor. And that talks about, at this stage, so far only 6 dams have been identified as high potential impact category and 3 is medium risk, medium impact category. So that's 9 so far.
Oh, 9. Yeah, I suppose the point I'm trying to make is that we're probably a low earthquake risk compared to the rest of the country. And I think you've addressed that at the workshop. But we must remember that, the likes of Murray and McCullough, he's helped build, significant dams in Northland. Those are the big dams that would cause a huge issue because of the huge amount of water that would possibly come down and take someone else's house out. But when you assess a dam, and let's say there's no houses, no roads, nothing in front of it, the risk to anyone is very, very low. You take that into account whether it was a high risk dam or not.
That's correct.
Thank you, Colin.
Councillor Crawford.
I thank you, Peter. Colin, just checking, and I know it's in your notes. See, the critical part of this report is that you don't have to assess a dam for an earthquake risk. So if you're building the dam, you don't have to get an engineer to design it for an earthquake. Is that correct?
The part of engineering assessment is it takes into account what is the risk of from an earthquake, and our understanding that in Northland generally that's a very low risk, so it's not really a significant, if you like, component of that assessment.
So that's a critical wording. So it's just like when you're building a commercial building or anything like that in a dam, that can cost a lot of money and put people off building dams. So that's a critical adjustment. That's what we're after. Thanks, Colin.
Arigato. Yes.
Kia ora, Chair. If I can maybe just summarise a little bit. The provisions are set in legislation around how a dam is classified, whether a dam needs to meet the requirements or not. So there's only so much that flexibility we've got here within this process. And the criteria around the height of the dam is not something that is at our discretion. That's set within the legislation. The bit about earthquake vulnerability in Northland was a point that was discussed at the workshop, and it was a point that Colin and the team emailed back out to councillors. You had asked that we draft a letter to go back to government saying actually the earthquake assessment aspect within the legislative provisions shouldn't apply in Northland due to our low earthquake vulnerability. We didn't get any feedback on that email. So the letter hasn't gone yet, but I guess seeking clarify or a confirmation from council as to whether you'd actually like us to push send on that letter, and it might be something that you want to come back to us afterwards once we've had another read of the letter. The other point I just wanted to make is that this is just going out for consultation. We're not looking for a decision from you here today as to what the policy settings are for Northland. We're seeking your approval to be able to go out, consult with the community, get feedback from the community, so that then you can make an informed decision on what our policy setting is by that process.
By Councillor McDonald.
Kia ora, thank you. Yes, similar to what John has just raised at the end of his comments, is I was just wanting to remind us that this is an initiation of a discussion with the community, and so I hear lots of valid and well-informed comments coming from other councillors, that concern around unintended consequences for our economy or for individual landowners. I think that's really valid, and I am confident that that will also be part of the feedback that we get from our community. On balance, there's a whole lot of things we don't actually have control over, and so I guess a big part of what we can do is communicate back to government, which again, that letter has been drafted. So yeah, I'm keen to support the remainder of the recommendations in the paper so that we can proceed with putting it out to consultation. But yeah, seeing that we're going to have deliberations on the 23rd of June, there's actually another opportunity once we've heard the community voice on it, and potentially had feedback from a letter that might get sent to Wellington, we would be then in a position to make the decision. So I'm happy to put is it two more? Three more?
Three. Are you willing to move?
Yep, I'll move 2, 3 and 4.
I will get a mover before I go to Councillor Hutt for comment. Anyone? Councillors willing to second?
I'll second that.
Councillor Kitchen?
Yeah.
Over to you, Councillor Hutt, and I'll go up to you.
I just endorse the fact that I think I'd like the letter sent with respect to seismic or earthquake risk, because I think it's quite pertinent specifically for this reason. So I'm certainly be supportive of that.
Yeah, look, thank you. My comment is that the question posed by Councillor Crawford, I didn't hear a clear answer in terms of. I'll leave you guys to try and remember what he said. And in regard to earthquake strengthening, and then what I thought he was talking about is potential increased costs. So when this goes to its next phase, we have to have much clearer answers for those type of questions.
Be frank, I can clarify my response.
Yes.
It's part of the assessment that engineers do to assess earthquake risk. The feedback is that, generally speaking, in Northland, that's very low. If the engineer does come back and say, hey, look, there's a potential here, then yes, that will have to be addressed in the design and require additional cost.
Yes, and I heard that, but then I heard Councillor Crawford come back and say those words need to be very clear. And I'm highlighting them and as we go through our next iteration. We do have a mover for items. Oh, Councillor Morgan.
I have a question and a statement, or they could be one and the same. And it's probably more so with the concern for when we go to consultation. We have the an attachment 1, the policy, dangerous dams policy, and then we also have the proposed policy, and it kind of goes with we've had workshops. This is like the second or third time we've had this conversation, and yet I'm still having to try and find my way to get a definitive answer. So my concern is when we go to consult with the community, they won't have this level of understanding. They won't have this background, and when we go and pose and raise the koutou with them, I feel like they could be left in the dark. And here's an example. So we talk about high, I think you call it high, medium impact dams. Yet on page 66, attachment 2, we've phrased it as first priority, minimum risk, second priority, third priority. And so, like, how are we making those assessments to call it a high impact, first priority, I suppose all I'm saying is we need to be clear when we're sharing this koutou with the public, because I feel like it can be ambiguous.
Hearing you correctly, you appreciate that the layperson has limited understanding, and we have been very quite plain and simple terms. I think it's just a matter of we'll go away and try to stand on that, but we'll have some Q&As that will address that.
Right. Councillor Blackwell.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, just getting back to earthquakes, I remember I was Chair Ruai College and we had the earthquakes in Canterbury. And then the Ministry of Education said that we had to get all of our buildings earthquake assessed, which is going to cost us a fortune. And boards don't have much money to play with. Then they discovered that it was only the brick and the concrete buildings that were affected and the ones with wooden weren't. And of course, most Northland schools were, a majority were wooden. Then we actually got out of having to spend an awful lot of money to get engineers to come and say that our buildings were safe. And we've moved on a bit like that now with earthquake, and being a Northland earthquake area, reasonably free, that code has changed with buildings all the way around Northland. When we consult, you've got to remember that only under 1% of the population of Northland will be concerned about the dams or have ownership or skin in the game. And you're going to have 99% of the people probably saying, well, why not have the best rules possible, go for the highest possible safety rating, which may affect a lot of profitability or viability of farmers. So that's what I'm worried about. And if you haven't got skin in the game, but like Mangawa, they wanted the best water system. They weren't going to get it pumped out of the harbour, even though they had a very good treatment plant built. They wanted it to land, which cost a lot more money. I think $7 million for the farm. So you've got to have consequences in the back of your mind. What we're going to do, what it's going to cost our economy, and the 1% of farmers that would be involved. Thank you.
Yes, that's certainly reinforcing the point that's already been made. Yes.
Sorry, Chair, just a very minor, but for the record, I put the CEO a little bit wrong. We discussed this yesterday. I did get one feedback, and that was from Councillor Carr saying good weather. So.
Right. Councillor Crawford, we note your comment in the chat, and that's being referenced here. We are doing numbers, or what are now motions 2, 3, and 4 on page 54, item 7.3. I will put those. Yes.
Sorry. So I just wanted to make sure, because I think it maybe got a little bit lost in the busy day of emails coming and going, that specific reference to the earthquake and the relationship with the building rules that got changed for Northland is exactly the purpose of the letter. Like that's completely what is in the letter that we are suggesting would get sent to government. So it's not something we can deal with within NRC, but we have pulled that letter together. So my only question is, do we want to add a recommendation that that letter gets sent, or is it best just to deal with that over the email separately? Because they're directly related, I guess is what I'm saying.
We'll certainly be putting numbers 2, 3, and 4 right now. All in favour say aye. Aye. Against. It's carried. In terms of your point, Councillor McDonald, any comment?
Got a Chair. I wonder if we just record it as a secretarial note to the agenda paper that and I'm looking around the room here to make sure there's nods, that there's councillor support for the letter to be sent.
Councillor Crawford's just endorsed it.
Yep.
Yes.
So we can record that. If we can.
For the record, we will note it in the minutes as such. We are moving on. Okay. John, I didn't realise that one would register so highly on the Richter scale. Page 68. Regional Software Holdings Limited Statement of Intent. 2 recommendations. Can I have a mover, please? Thank you, Councillor McDonald and Councillor Craw. I'm tempted to put this one, but I will invite comment. There being none, all in favour say aye. Aye. Against, that's carried. Item 113. Thank you. Sorry, page 113. Item 7.5, Investment Committee Terms of Reference. I will invite commenters.
Bruce can speak to this.
Bruce, any general comments before we look at this one?
I think, yeah, this was reviewed at the investment committee meeting. It's per council previous resolution for each committee to review their terms of reference. The only substantive change is that under administration, the terms of reference is an insert stating that if the committee cannot be convened, then council will assume the roles and responsibilities. There's a capitalisation changes from council and committee to United States. That was it, Chair.
Right. Comments from councillors?
It's a fairly sensible amendment. Yeah. Unlikely to happen, but obviously, basis.
Are you willing to move on that basis, Councillor Hunt?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Is there a seconder, please? Councillor Morunga, I invite comment or questions. There being none, all in favour say aye.
Aye.
Any contrary? There are none. That is declared carried. Thank you very much. We are up to the chair's report to council. I can move that one myself. Is there a seconder? Councillor Mortimer.
Second it. No.
Okay.
Give it, Jeff. I'm hogging today.
In terms of the report, I think it's all very clear. It certainly is a privilege to get out around the community. I have tried to get to all of our committees. Haven't been totally successful, but it's good to just work with the chairs and the representatives from council on those committees and understand the workings of council. And the photographs, I tried to include that so you know at least some of the people who I'm with. Any questions?
I'd just like to thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the fulsome report. I learned some stuff about the big dig that I didn't know before, so thank you very much.
Yeah. On that one, when I stood to speak, and it's in the report, I said that basically back in those times, and they're still being called the rebels. So I found it highly unusual to stand and address them as the bureaucracy and be joining the rebels. So anyway, Councillor Blackwell.
Yeah, particularly good pictures on page 121 myself. You, Peter, and others. But beside that picture, you've got Georgina, but Georgina's name is Georgina Curtis Connolly, I think.
Oh, right.
Curtis is her maiden name. Hyphen. Yep. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. How could I forget that? Right. Any other questions, comments? There being none. All in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against?
Aye.
Carried. We are up to page 127, CEO's report to council. Can I get a mover for that, please?
Also moved.
Thank you, Councillor Kitchen. And a seconder. Councillor McDonald. Over to you for any comments, please. Donna?
Oh, kia ora, Mr. Chair. CEO's report, as per normal, I guess. Interested in any feedback as well on just the structure of the CEO's report. You'll note that we've restructured it to align with our community areas of focus rather than by structure of the organisation. And interested to make sure that the information we're providing here to councillors is useful at the right level and what is useful for yourselves. We provide a highlight section, which essentially I go through and pull out 2 or 3, or I think in this case 4 key things to highlight. I note that the top one there is Waitini commemorations. Noting we had a bit of a debrief on that at the Merrill Forum last week, I think it was, Chair. And also that we'll be bringing a debrief corridor for council as well, just to reflect on how we presented, how we were joined up and what we advocated for, what the outcomes were from that, and to while it's fresh in our mind, still have a look and see what we can do better for next time. Very happy to answer any questions that councillors may have.
Thank you. Over to you, Councillor Blackwell.
Yes, great report, Jono. I look at the sewage, the sewage ones every time, and Waitira, in my time on council, has always been completely green. I may be wrong, but I think it's pretty close to being 100%. We should give them a prize of some sort, recognise the ability of a small community like Waitira to have a very good sewage system. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other questions?
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to take this opportunity to thank staff for the efforts at the Dargle Field Days. I thought they were very impressive, as always, and I may be biased, but I thought our display was easily the best on there. It contains a comprehensive array of subjects. I know it's a focus on biosecurity, which is my area, but it was very interesting. It attracted a lot of people, but it wasn't just the design and the topics. It was actually the manner in which staff were able to answer questions. And I asked questions of perhaps 8 or 9 staff, and they were all fantastic in terms of being able to answer some pretty tough questions, I thought. And I learnt plenty myself, so I'm imagining that lots of others learnt. And also, it was great to catch up with other councillors from other identities from other organisations there at our site. So it all augurs well for keeping our reputation high and with the planned reorganisation ahead. So I'd just like to thank the staff for a wonderful effort.
Thank you. Yes, Councillor McPhil.
I've got 2 questions, please. First one is for Colin, page 139, looking at the wastewater treatment plant and their functioning. Just coming back to the Whangarei City and the issue at Katoa Bay. And I see there's obviously an ongoing issue with odour, which is really significant for the local community. We have an abatement notice in place. I guess the concern I have, and I've heard it from others too, is that our district councils are moving into a transitional phase where they will be handing over responsibility to the Northland Waters Done Well Trust. Like that entity. And so I guess my question is, how in some of these places where we have really significant issues that are not being resolved, does NRC have a role to push harder in terms of our compliance to elevate these things to be dealt with? I guess the concern is that when you can see that on the horizon something is going to be handed over somewhere else, it's going to become somebody else's problem. There's potentially, when there's such pressure on rates increases, there's potentially, I guess, an incentive to defer works. But this is it's in a community and it's having a really big impact on people. So what's our role in compliance and enforcement?
Through the chair.
Sorry, through the chair.
Yeah, that's a natural feeling that people would have in the circumstances. To date, it's been positive that my interaction with the people who are helping to set up the new CCO is that they will have as one of their core criteria for funding and doing work as clients. And our role will be to inform them regularly of we consider other plants or discharges that require the most attention. That answer your question, Councillor?
Well, it's really reassuring in a longer horizon, I guess. But in the meantime, you've got people who have been lobbying for a few months now with a really significant odour impact. And potentially, if it's not resolved by WDC before that transition, they could be living with that for another 12 months. And so, I guess just wondering how we elevate things when we're going through transitions.
Chair, if I can maybe just, Colin, in your interactions with Whangarei District Council on this matter, are you finding that they're being responsive and they're looking at progressing a solution to the issue as it's their mandate right now, or are you observing that they're stalling and dragging their feet I get this is the point you're making, in the knowledge that responsibility is going to transfer to another entity at some point.
Yeah. My feeling is that they're not scoring it, and it's not an easy solution. And I have been trying to consult with the community, explain that why it's taking so long. Again, all we can do is maintain the pressure on the people's issue.
Oh, I guess, yeah, from my perspective, it's just important that we do maintain that pressure, and they are getting political pressure through the community as well. But I just really feel for those people. But thank you. And it's really good to hear that looking to the new CCO, hopefully there's a more comprehensive opportunity to bring everybody up to being compliant, and that's going to be a real priority for them. My other question through the chair, I think, is for Louisa, and it's just around landslide risk. Page 148, there's reference to the LiDAR mapping. So after the heavy rainfall events and landslides along the east coast around like Oakura, Helena Bay, Whangarei Heads, this report, which I know is for last month, talks about the LiDAR work that will be done to help inform landslide risk for the community ongoing. Given that we're under weather warnings right now, I guess I'm wondering, has it been done, or what is the timeline for it to be done? And where we are aware, taking it the next level, where we are aware that there is some risk, how is that informing our civil defence, or I don't even know who's responsible for monitoring landslide vulnerability under a severe weather system? Sorry.
So starting off with the LiDAR information, yes, that has already been flown.
Oh, cool.
There was an urgency for the aerial photography and the LiDAR information to be gathered. And that's why you'll see in the financial report, we got an emergency payment. We needed that to be flown before the next weather event so that those landslides could be directly linked to that specific rain event. That is how you start to pull together a map, effectively a landslide susceptibility map. Mapping landslide risk is difficult. It's why we don't have anything at the moment. Technology hasn't been there. It has been developed over the last few years. Traditionally, it's been mapped using soil erodibility. That information is on our website, on our natural hazards portal. So that's that part of it. Timelines for a map, what has to happen now, and we've got Earth Sciences New Zealand are working on this for us. So we've got the aerial photography, but we don't yet have the LiDAR data, because when the LiDAR was completed, not last week, the week before, that then has to go through a processing and a quality control before it can then actually physically be used by Earth Sciences New Zealand. So that's happening at the moment. That takes about 4 to 5 weeks. Then Earth Sciences New Zealand will get that information. They will link it back to that rain event. And then using whatever they do, their fancy stuff of science, they can extrapolate that information to give a first look at a landslide susceptibility map. That would then, once we've done quality controls, I can't give you a confirmed timeline around that, but I'll get some further information from our natural hazards advisor and follow up on that for you. That once we've got that map, we'll then put it onto our website, so anybody can access it. And additionally, you'll see in there in the report, it talks about also going into LIM information as well, which is what we're required to do by law under the changes that happened last year.
You have a comment too, John?
Did I manage to capture everything there?
Well, I guess the only remaining question is, those communities are going to be feeling really vulnerable with the current forecast. How does that work?
So we are aware of that. So civil defence's messaging is not just about flood risk mitigation, it's also about landslide risk as well. Yeah. And whilst we can't point out to those specific areas that are at risk, it's more a general comment around be aware that there is going to be so much rain. And just to note, we've just been raised up to a red warning. And there's a meeting going on right now about ECC has just pulled together to look at the region's preparedness for the event. I think one of the things, the messaging that will be pushed out around the risk of landslides to our communities, around all our normal channels.
Thank you very much.
For clarity, we have a motion moved by councillors Kitchen and seconded by councillor McDonald that the CEO's report be received. I'm going to put the motion. All in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, that is carried. Thank you, Jono and the team, for that report. We are up to page 158, item 8.3. Legislative compliance half-yearly report, July to December 2025. I will seek a mover. Councillor McDonald again.
You guys are too slow.
You, Councillor Hunt. Right, are there any comments? Yes, Steve?
Gee, I feel Sir Graham Latimer and Russell Kemp prodding me in the back here, but you know, one of the acts that aren't in there is the Te Ho claims settlement, 2002. So you've got the recent settlements, but Te Ho, who I was working for at that time, also struck an MOU with regional council.
Yes.
Yeah, Chair, protocol, I think we should, unless someone there is saying otherwise, yeah, I think we should be adding that. We'll go away and just double check, but yeah, thank you.
Thank you for noting that. Any other questions or comments? Being none, all in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, that is carried. We are up to receipt of committee minutes. And I'm looking for a mover. Councillor Morunga and Councillor Hunt. I am going to put the motion. All in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, that's carried. Working Party updates report, page 193. And I'll seek a mover there too.
Happy to move it. Yeah.
You, Councillor Blackwell and Councillor Crawl.
Mr. Chairman, subject to a small spelling error. I see when you come to the Biosecurity and Biodiversity Working Party, I'm referred to as Councillor Jack Crawford, and I'm sure Jeff wouldn't be that happy with it. So if we just do a small typo correction, thank you.
Noted.
Genealogy test.
Yes, indeed.
I shall put the motion. All in favour say aye.
Aye.
Yes, that is carried. Welcome back, Woody.
Thank you.
Still looking good. We are up to both the recommendations on page 197, of which there are 3.
I move we go into public exclusion.
Thank you. Councillor Kitchen and Councillor McDonald. All in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, that is carried.